Oh man, it must be Wednesday. And Vince, man, you looking busy down there. You know, you got something
It's,
going on there. Welcome
it's
to Youth
basketball
Central
season.
Sports.
It's
I'm Charles
basketball
Morse with
season
the
right now.
original Coach Carter. Happy to be with you here with Youth Central Sports, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m., 10 o'clock his time. Because I like to
Hey.
say, I'm the abandoned child. The brother left me. He's up in Tennessee. But you know what? It was 80-some degrees today. What's the temperature there, Vince?
Right now, it is 29 and falling.
Okay, 29. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me turn on the, hold on. Let me turn on the channel. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see what the temperature is right now. Let me see. You said it's, it's, it's 70, it's like 76 degrees. Anyway.
It ain't happening here. And we look at possibility of snow later on tonight.
Okay.
There's a
Well,
possibility that temperatures, we're going to get around 20. We might get some snow flurries, some rain. Um, what can I tell you?
well, the funny thing is, when I went to school up north, the very first time I saw snow was the day before Thanksgiving. It was a long time
Mm-hmm.
ago, and I'm a kid in college, of course, and I'm up north. I wasn't able to come home for Thanksgiving. I guess nobody wanted to. I guess nobody had any money,
Put that bill.
you know, for me to come home. So I had to
Right.
go and spend Thanksgiving with one of the teammates, you know, with one of my teammates. And he, you know, he invited me home, and it was really nice. And it just look out I remember going to his home, and that evening before Thanksgiving, looked out the window, Vince, and I'm seeing snow for the first time. And I was talking about being a little kid, man. I went outside and we was just running around in the snow. I was rolling around in the snow. We was just making snowballs and acting like a little kid, you know, because I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is snow. And I grew up in Florida, and and so being up, when I mean up in, I was up in Maine, by the way, Maine,
Mm-hmm.
so remember turning on the radio and hearing, welcome to Sugarloaf Mountain. Having a great morning. It's 25 below zero. Have a great day.
Yeah.
you know, but but that was my first snow experience.
Yeah, I got my first snow experience in North Carolina. I was in school and football, playing football up there. And everybody, the first time it snowed, they went and got us all up because a lot of guys from Florida. We were in Raleigh, North Carolina at Shaw University. And they came and got me up at about 2 in the morning. And it was snowing. And boy, I was taking pictures of snow and sending it back home like a 2-year-old. I was
Right.
so excited about it. Then let's fast forward a few years. I'm in the military now. I'm overseas in Germany. I'm a military policeman. We go out on mandatory maneuvers. I'm out in snow up to my waist for
Ooh,
about a week, and had to function in that. So
wow.
at that point in time, I had seen enough snow to last me a lifetime. But I was like, oh, this is it. I'm never going to move into a cold state where it snows. And fast forward again, here I am in Tennessee, and it's snowing.
Right. 'Cause, I am the abandoned child. He left me for snow. What's up with that? He left me for snow. Man. What's up with that? Well, listen. Before we get into our topic tonight, which
Mm,
I call this show, man, I'm talking about racial equality is what I want to talk
mm,
about through sports. Through sports,
right.
I wanted to. People don't know your background, and people actually call you in to talk about diversity and some other things, and other
Right.
mentoring when it comes to challenges with some of our youths and so on. And but we're gonna talk about that. Give me an update on your basketball team. Give me an update on your basketball team.
Well, we just started the season. Officially got started on Tuesday. We had our first game, got a victory over a very good basketball team, and we're scheduled to have our second game tomorrow, if weather permits, and then our third game will be on Monday. So we're off to a very busy start. Great win, very good basketball team. but we were better, and we really played very well. As always, back to the drawing board today, trying to clean up a few things to get ready for this next challenge tomorrow. If the weather permits, we'll be engaging tomorrow evening. If not, then we won't get back into. We have a couple more days of practice. But we're really excited about how it started so far. Just one game under our belt. We're very excited at what we saw on the floor last night, and hoping that it'll get even better tomorrow night or the next game.
Okay. Well, tonight's show is a little different, Vince, and mainly because I know that because of what you do. And I was trying to tie it in with what you do in reference to how we talk about sports, because this world and who we are and how we are, we deal with racist people and attitudes and stupidity and ignorance and arrogance, and to the degree that is sickening, and people have still dying to this day for the whatever that is in their spirit, that how they see themselves and how they see people of color, whatever that is. What was in the news last week, and that was really on the headlines, was this teacher had encounter with this young gentleman, and he was throwing racial slurs at him. He had this ball that he even threw at him. I think it hit him like on the leg or something. And the teacher just lost it. Just totally just lost it and punched this kid. When actually he really didn't get in a good punch. He tried to, but he didn't, because he wasn't a fighter. So he didn't get a really good punch in, but he got some in. And so I've showed the video to different people, and of course they said, well, you know, he shouldn't have hit the kid. Well, that goes without saying. He should have never hit the kid. He should have never hit this kid. But my question that I'm going to ask, and not that you can answer it, but here is this guy who evidently, based on what was posted from his students, the students' teacher, the students' parents, he's a good guy. And if you watch the video, at the end, he looks like he was just lost. Just like what just happened when they separated him, and he was just like what just happened. And so this kid called him the N-word, and went to. And so the reason why I'm asking you this is because I know in sports, you have been around a lot of kids, and I have seen it myself. There's so many different personalities, and sports has a way to, most of the time, kind of bring us closer together to get past some of the myth, the stupidity, the arrogance, because you see how it has to gel in order for it to work. But also, sports take you further than the 2 blocks that you're used to living on. So now you're interacting with people. You're seeing that, well, maybe because of what I was told, maybe this is not true, so on and so forth. But my question that I wanted to ask you, and for a person to get to that point, and I'm thinking, has something happened before that has failed this teacher? Because you and I would probably be sitting there looking at that kid and be like, you know what, I can't wait to write you up to get your butt out of here. I'm going to make sure you ain't going to be here for a long time. Okay, keep talking. But he was very calm for a minute, and the student kept going, and he just finally just said, you know what? Boom, 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 boom. And it was kind of like, and then when you looked at him, okay, so they arrested him, right?
Right.
His bail was at $50,000, right?
Okay.
Someone put up a GoMe fund and raised well over $100,000 A lot of that money came from teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
in this time in which you do what you do, and even where you are, and it's kind of a tough thing to talk about, but people have called you the importance of diversity, the importance of trying to get past the stigma, the importance of just trying to educate people. What is it that you try to do when you're called and you're talking to these managers, you're talking to these executives, and for people who are not people of color, a lot of times you could be somewhere and you could feel that spirit. See, they don't know that a lot of times you can feel it. Words are not even spoken, but you can feel it. You can look in somebody's eyes sometimes. You can check their demeanor and you can feel it. And I know I just threw a lot out at you, and you can start wherever you want to start, but it's kind of it's sad just to see at the end that teacher's look on his face like, what just happened? Because you can see he was frustrated. And so
Right.
he's been a teacher for a while. So to get yourself to that point, to hit this kid, we don't know what was going on in his head, but you kind of do know what's going on in his head. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, there are a couple. I mean, that's a good topic and a great question. There's a lot to it. But one of the things you've got to think about is that we don't always know. We assume that people have the position that they have. For instance, as a teacher, he has a responsibility to the student to help them learn, discipline them, build relationships, and all of the above. But they're human too. You never know on this particular day, he may have had a personal issue that may have been driving him or it occurred that day, or he got some bad information. And it's not an excuse, but it's a matter of the reality of he hit a breaking point. He hit a breaking point. Were there signs of this? Perhaps, probably so, but in a more subtle way, that he was under some kind of pressure. Maybe listening and having this kid continue to gnaw at him and gnaw at him uh, may have just sent him over the edge. And
Mm-hmm.
then that look you saw was that look of I'm out of control. I didn't intend to do that. Now he's feeling more relaxed because he's been able to relieve that momentary emotional stress. And now he's so sorry about what he did. I didn't mean to do that. I just meant to release that emotion. That's not an excuse, but that is a factor that's involved in a decision that people make when they do that. Yes, he's going to be arrested because he is a teacher, he's a professional. This is a minor. Regardless of what the agitation may have been, he'll be looked at and he'll be judged based on that, unless there's something else where he felt threatened or however. I don't, I think unfortunately the outcome will be against him more so than understanding, unless he can put forth some kind of argument as to where his mental state was at that time. Walking in, and you talk about that feeling, Charles. I've walked into rooms of executives with nobody in the room who looked like me, and I'm going to talk about something that they've grown up with that's instilled in them that they sometimes don't even know that they have or purposely are doing. I feel it. I can feel the room. I can feel the resistance. I can feel that, this is not a topic you want to have, but you've been mandated to come there. The first thing I try to do for myself is let's just talk about the elephant in the room. I'm different from you and you're different from me. Let's just put that right out so make sure we understand what are we talking about. And the thing I try to do, not only do we separate and accept our differences, what is our common goal? What is our common ground where we start from? And that's what I want to. I always ask them, what is your goals? What is your core value? What are you trying to accomplish? Okay, if in having these people here, what role do you want them to play? Then that's we identify that role. Then I challenge them. Then if that's what you're doing, how do you expect for that to happen? So now we have to get into understanding cultural differences and appreciating and accepting differences and saying, well, I didn't grow up that way, but and that's where you try to get that change. It's what they're accustomed to. I've never seen that behavior before. I've never seen that action before. I'm not accustomed to that, and that's great. I understand that, but I always tell them if you are a management or a leader, you're going to have to change. You're going to have to learn to accept these people for who they are, and you all are going to have to find a happy medium. Now, this is a quick answer, but it's a much more involved. I'm talking 3 hours sometime where we sit there and we're talking about this kind of diversity understanding. We're breaking down walls and talking and destroying myths and challenging people at their core. Some people don't want to let go because it's comfortable. They're afraid to let go and step out and to get into that difference. And sometimes it's multiple times, but it's a rewarding experience when you break that in to kind of at least acknowledge some of that difference. Charles's color, its hairstyle, its language, the ability, maybe you don't speak the language that I speak. And I want you not to speak your native tongue, but to speak my common language that I understand. Where you're taking away from that person opportunity for them to be who they are, come from, all things that come into how people judge people. And then, so you got to get into that. I got to walk with them. I got to talk with them. I got to try to hear their side of why they feel that way. In some cases, they're valid. They're basing it on maybe an experience that they either had, but you know what the most surprising thing is? All their prejudices are based on something someone has told them. They themselves, many have not experienced it. It's just assumed. Well, he had that experience. I'm going to have the same thing. So simple eye contact, handshakes, good morning gestures, good morning, how things like that people just don't seem to understand. And that customer service in general today, because we're so high tech now, we don't have that much one-on-one conversation with people. And I think we've lost the ability to give what we call good customer service,
Right.
because we don't interact with that one-on-one. So this whole thing about diversity is it's deep, it's rewarding, but it's a real serious challenge. And I truly enjoy it though. I gotta admit, it's fun walking into a hostile environment. And at the end of the day, we've accomplished a couple of one or two goals where we're shaking hands. We're kind of asking that serious question. And how about this? Why does this happen? And I like that, because now we're starting to build. Now, have they changed in some time in those 3 hours? No. But what I hope we've done is set the groundwork for change. That next time they engage that person who's different from them, whether it be male or female, or it's a racial issue or whatever it may be, that you kind of stop and pause for a minute and try to acknowledge that person as another human being who has an idea that may be different from yours. And that's the challenge right there, is accepting that. Sometimes we have inferiority complexes, and that is so diverse. That's why they call it diversity. It's all over the place. And
Okay.
most people think it's just strictly about race, and it is not strictly race. Race is a factor, but it's not the only factor.
Okay. Let me ask you this right here. You're you're at a high school.
Yes.
What's in place for you, being a coach, doing what you do, and you may do some other things there at the school,
Yes.
but in a scenario like that where this kid, or you could be out coaching. I mean, you could be in the gym. That same scenario where you can be in the gym, you don't have to be in the classroom, but you're in the gym. You get this irate, whatever student this is, and he started throwing F-bombs at you. He started throwing the N-word at you. He throws a ball at you. What's in place for you to deal with him? What's in place for you to deal with him or her?
Well, you have a protocol from the school, if you will, about how they want to handle certain things. There's a procedure that you're always expected to be a professional. You're always expected to de-escalate as much as you can. No one's advocating physical contact with this kid. In fact, I work with special needs kids, and they really hold us to, they teach us physical restraints and all of that, but they're even telling us to be careful, because it can appear that you're actually attacking this kid sometime when you're actually trying to restrain them. So there's a whole lot of rules in place to try to make sure that you aren't compromised, but also that you aren't abusing somebody. For me, and for me personally, I'm going to try to hear this kid out. I'm going to try to hear. I'm not going to let him do anything to me physically and harm me. If he throws the ball, I'm gonna try to make sure he doesn't hit me. If with the ball, if he, because right there, he's the way I look at it. My experience tell me that's just verbal expression, if you will. It may be nasty. It may not be becoming to me. Maybe talking about my ancestry, so on and so forth. But I believe as a professional, as an experienced and a mature adult, I should be a little bit more thick-skinned than that. Now, many people will disagree with that, but hear me out. Is what I'm saying is I'm not going to let that make my decision. My decision is based on if this young man attacks me, I'm going to protect myself. No matter, I don't care what policy is in place, I'm going to protect myself. Because I mean, there is no policy governing me being attacked. They'll tell me to protect myself. They'll tell me at the same time in doing that, just like as I'm a peace officer, a police officer, I'm supposed to be able to protect myself, not let you harm me, but not harm you as well. Although we've seen that to be different. For me personally, a lot of it has to do with relationships. I'm going to try to hear you out. I'm going to be watching you, make sure you don't hurt me, and try to hear what. So, am I the problem, or are you throwing the problem at? I'm gonna try to get us away everybody so everybody can't hear what's going on, and try to get a situation where I can kind of control the environment and let me hear what you're saying and see if maybe I can resolve it. If I can't, and I don't feel safe, or it's not hitting all the buttons that I need to try to control it, I'm gonna have to get you out of here. So I'm gonna call for reinforcements. I'm gonna call for the SRO. I'm gonna call for other staff members, someone to witness this, and then I'm gonna have them do what they have to do to you. Because I think the guideline that I go by, and I think most professionals look at, it, we should be thick-skinned enough to be able to some verbal confrontation. It doesn't feel good, and it probably can get right up under your skin. I've had that happen, but I've got to remind myself it's just words. It's just words, and he's being precise, and he's cutting me hard, but it's just words. What I'm concerned about is him attacking me. I'm
Right.
not going to let anybody do any physical harm to me by any shape, form, or fashion. I don't care who you are, but I'm also going to restrain myself to the point that I can protect. I'm going to only act when I think it's absolutely necessary. Am I going to, you swinging at me? I'm going to try to make sure you don't hit me. I may not hit you back, but I'm gonna make sure you don't hit me. Now, if he actually puts his hand on me and I feel threatened, then I got to do what I think is best for my safety, whatever that might be. So that's a last resort. They tell us that again, especially these kids. These are kids. Some of these kids are 18 years, 17, 18 year big kids, and sometimes they aren't aware of their own strength.
Right.
But as a matter of fact, I got to deal with that kid in a respectful, professional way while protecting both him and myself at the same time. That's a challenge. And I think for me personally, it's a situation of I'm not fearful. I don't
Right.
fear the kid. Now, if he drew a weapon on me, I got to
Uh-huh.
be a little bit more concerned. I mean, I'm like, okay, we got to go into survival mode. But ultimately, what is asked of me and is to protect myself without harming the other individual. That's not always easy, but that is the goal.
Now, I was going to ask you, what has been your worst case scenario? I mean, you don't have to explain it, but you said that you have had an encounter. And I don't know, what that means, but because I, I know you have worked with some knuckleheads.
I,
I know you have. You have worked with some true knuckleheads. So
I have.
I can only imagine.
I, I can't speak to some of them because I can't describe it the way I need to make it sound plausible. But we did come to an understanding. I have been through midnight basketball and some of my other things that I've done in community work. I've been in some tough situations. I was in a community one time, and I won't disclose where it was. I won't give those kind of details. Where it was just me and them, and the only thing that kept us in a cordial basis was I had shown respect to them, and for that they were showing me respect. They didn't agree, they didn't like what I was, and didn't want what I was asking, but I always respected them. Had always use the common courtesies of saying, hey guys, I would appreciate, could you please do this for me? And some they would give me some express, some very creative language, and I would say, listen, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, but here's what we've got to do. Trying to take a very intelligent approach. Now, I will be honest with you, there have been some situations where I've had to meet them where they were. They didn't understand what I was saying, so I had to change my vocabulary to match theirs so we could all understand the same conversation.
Right.
And I have had physical situations where it just got out of hand. I had kids, he wasn't listening to me, he wasn't listening to anybody. We knew each other. I would dare say we may have had a relationship, but he was just out of control. And I was the closest person to him. And he took his aggression out on me. And I'll just say this, I wouldn't let him hurt me. I wasn't going to let him hurt me. And I tried not to hurt him. And I've gone as far, that's physical. I've been involved with weapons. I've been involved with all kinds where you try to de-escalate this situation without physical contact if possible. I've been in a situation where a kid drew a gun on me one time and scared the stink out of me. I'm not going to tell you. All this training and all this thing about me being a man, this kid took my breath away when he did that. I mean, I thought for sure he was going to shoot me for real because he was that mad. He wasn't particularly mad at me, but I was there. But we were able to de-escalate that. It can be done. It's just a matter of do you want to do it. Sometimes people are fearful and they react from that. I understand that. But some of my activities as a military policeman, I've been involved in fist fights, guns, some shootings and stuff like where you learn to calm yourself. You learn to say, okay, this situation, let me try and get this under control. Now, people say, oh, I don't have time for that. Well, you learn how to take time for that. But we don't always respond that way. But that's the
right.
goal. So
yeah,
I have, again, and that's until I've had a couple of tough situations where I can't sit here and tell you it came out to my advantage. It came out. I got taken advantage of a couple of times. I got outnumbered. I've never had anybody just overwhelm me like that. But it was a scuffle to get control of that situation. But I can tell you this: the more we can build respect, the more we can build relationships, because I think fundamental differences that we have, we don't understand the other person and we don't take the time. We want to make them conform. But we should be conforming to some degree to the point of understanding. I'm not saying we agree, but I need to hear you out. At least give us a point to start a conversation. And if you say it should be left and I say it should be right, well, let me hear why you think it's left. Let me explain to you why I think it's right. And then let's see if we can meet someplace in the middle. Today's society is not like that. We react at the simplest provocation. We take it to the extreme. And I 100% agree with that.
Everybody's not rational as you, Vince. Everybody's not rational as you.
I'm not saying, and I'm not making myself out to be.
Oh no. What I'm saying is you have a level head. So what I'm saying is, and I don't have to tell you because, like I said, I know some of the knuckleheads. I don't know them, but I know some of the circumstances and situations. Especially dealing with midnight basketball, and
right.
But
we were in the street.
Yeah. You dealing with the streets. Straight street.
Right.
And so,
straight street.
in looking at that. At the teacher and understanding, because I've been involved in sports, and now I'm going to share this with you.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother played with somebody who played with me in college. Okay. And coming from D-Land, when he said what he said, I just knew he was just a sign of his time. Mm-hmm. Bruce said to me, he said, well, if you're going to have a football team, you can't have a black quarterback because you need somebody that can think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you look like this right here. Now he wasn't saying it for no other reason than somebody has taught him to think that a black quarterback cannot think. So his thing was,
Right.
you need him to run the ball. You need a white quarterback because he gonna be able to think.
Hmm.
So I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay, all right,
Well,
all right.
you've had a couple of people on the show that you've had a couple of people on the show that dispelled that myth. I mean, you go back, you go back and look at uh, Doug Williams. You can go back there, Warren Moon, back Jefferson Street. You those who came along when that thought process was real.
Well,
At least
James
people
Harris.
thought James Harris. I mean, you can go to a number of them who faced it and proved it to be wrong because they went out and they were effective at doing what the position called for. Yes, it has always been a situation or a feeling that when you're dealing with African Americans, that we have attributes in one area but not attributes in another, and then people not only and then they don't want to accept it, they were not even willing to entertain it. So these guys have to go out and go through an extraordinary effort just to prove that they're above average or even average. But in most times, because of that, because of the intense scrutiny in the position they're facing, and they're tremendous athletes. But these kids are just ready. When you Grambling, the coach at Grambling, Eddie Robinson made sure his athletes understood the game of football at any level. I don't care who they played for. And he
Well,
said, when you leave from here, you play this game for anybody. Jay Gaither, when FAMU back in the day used to have blood, sweat, and tears team, 3 different squads beating everybody in the country. One of the things he said is when you go on this football field, you strap up and put on this gear, you'll be able to play football for anybody.
well,
Yeah, I don't care what think of you because you're
Well,
gonna
that was
know
one
this
of the
game.
things when you hear. I mean, when I did the interview, when I had James Harris, I had him on the show, and I've talked
Hmm.
to him on numerous occasions and in depth because that whole thing intrigues me because
Hmm.
that journey was a difficult one.
Yeah,
And some of the
absolutely.
stories, some of the
Absolutely.
stories that that he told me, because but Eddie Robinson, that that was a God thing, man. And when you
Hmm.
hear his story, you know that God was involved in that and the whole
No
mindset. And
doubt.
I asked him, about that, and he said one of the things, basically what you just said. He said one of the things that I know that if I did not make it in the NFL, it was not going to be because I couldn't play football. He said,
Right.
now I know that I could play and I know that I could throw the ball. And
Hmm.
I left with the understanding that there was no choice for me but to make this team or to make it in the NFL. And Eddie Robinson prepped him and got him mentally, emotionally, physically ready. So when that time came, he was ready.
Right.
Now he explained some things to me about Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam, as we
Hmm.
called him. The difference between him and Joe Gilliam was that Joe Gilliam didn't deal with the racism as well as he did. Okay,
Right.
because the way he explained it was Joe Gilliam took it more personal. When the when when the letters came, when the postcards
Hmm.
came with the N word and you shouldn't be a quarterback and you who you and da 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 da, he took that more personal. Where James Harris said he just let it roll off because I mean we've been dealing with that since the beginning of time. So mentally, emotionally, what was going on with Joe Gilliam, James Harris was on another level mentally and emotionally. Skill
Yeah.
level,
The
I don't
maturity.
know. I mean, they both was good, good quarterbacks. But the way Joe Gilliam took it and had to deal with it was different than James Harris.
Charles, I'll say this, and I mean this from the depths of my heart to anybody that's listening or watching. To to be to be diverse is a challenge. It is a commitment. It is not easily done. It is you sometimes you're going against what you believe, of what you've been taught, of what you've heard, in order to seek something different. And it's very engaging. It doesn't happen right away. There's a lot of disappointments, a lot of bad feelings as you get to that point. A lot of stop. And I do understand them stopping. I understand them saying, I'm just not gonna. I can't take it anymore. But I think the other side of that, those people who understand the picture, who can get it, and who are self-confident, who have a game plan for where they're going and what they're going to do. They're confident and they know their skill and know they can get by all of that noise because it's not going to affect what I do. And I'm not saying because you are affected that you are less competent, but I just think that you're too sensitive or you're overly sensitive about what they're saying because it has nothing to do with your ability to what you can do. That's a training to do that. You have to want to do that. It takes time to get that way. And it doesn't happen overnight because I used to have extremely short temper. And I had to learn that if I wanted to do some of the things that I wanted to do, I'm going to have to learn to control my emotions and my temper. And I don't have to listen to what they say because what they say does not define me. My biggest thing was, as long as you don't put any physical on me, okay, then I really don't care what you say. And I had to get that way. I was very sensitive before that you could rile me up very easily, but now it's like, okay, fine, whatever. So again, that's training. That's a commitment to trying to do it differently, and really more than anything, I would say on your own goals. I'm not going to let what you say define or deter me from my goal. I'm not going to let you change path simply because you don't agree or you don't think I should. I don't care about that. What I care about is either you're going to get out of my way or you're going to help me make my way. And I'm going to determine that about you, and then I'm going to move on. Again, I mean, I'm on the other side of this scenario now, and I can say this, when before I felt different. I probably was a bit more engaging then, but time has taught me or is teaching me. There's another way. There's another way to get around it. You can't take from me, no. You can't. I don't care what you say. I don't care how many doors you close. I don't care how difficult you make it. You can't take from me, no. And once I learn it, it's mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. Now, that's an old premise. Heard some of our leaders about Martin Luther King talk about it. Marcus Garvey talked about it. Booker T. Washington talked about it, and I believe it's real because once I get it, I got it. It's mine. There's nothing you can do to take it away from me.
Well, that's what I meant by you having a level head. Most people have not reached that place of maturity, Vince, because it takes a maturity mind, and that's what I try to, when you're talking to the kids, and you try to get them to understand why are you letting somebody else define who you are? You should know who you are, and why what they say are so important to you. Like you said, they're just words. But in
circumstances,
right? And I try to give them an example. I said, when you go in and you're meeting them for the first time and you're talking to them for the first time, and I say to you, you don't even know me. I say, you just met me. Well, guess what? I can say anything about you. I can sit here and say a whole bunch of things about you, but I don't even know you. But you're gonna let what I say upset you? I don't even know you, but you're gonna give me that power over you because of some words, and I can say anything. Only you will make it true, not me. But it's just amazing.
And I think the other side of that, the circumstances, people use their circumstances to validate this situation. This is what I like about sport. Sport forces you to take a second examination for the sport itself, because you can't bring some of that nonsense to the sport because it requires a team effort and discipline, and everybody's got to be on the same page. I may not like it, but I got to deal with you because I got a goal I got to accomplish, and the only way to get to my goals, I got you do your part while I do my part. Military is really good at military put you in that foxhole or put you in that position with guys you can't stand. But in order for us to survive, we got to learn to get along. Sport does the same thing. That common love for that sport that makes you say, you know what? I don't like him, but if he does his job, then I have no problem with him. And if you have a history with Remember the Titans, you know the story. You heard from the people themselves. It
Hmm.
all came down to a part to the ability for us to come together for a common goal to be the best football team that they could be. And they got past that color thing. This guy catches better than I do. He can help us win. This guy runs the ball better than, and he's a good running back. That's what we need. I'm a good blocker. I'm gonna open the hole for him. He gonna get in. He don't care about what you look like. At least not during the game. And a lot of times, not until somebody else bring it up,
Right.
because it's about the sport. It's about winning. It's about being competitive. It's about getting out there, doing your best you can. So sport is a reflection of society. But I just think sport has it so does so much better with it because we force people to change their perspective, if only for the 3 hours of the football game or the 2 hours of the basketball game. But if you change it enough, if you change it enough, and you do it on a regular basis, it becomes a habit. It
Right.
becomes a habit, and we start
Yeah.
to look at people different.
Pastor Jenkins' brother, I had him on and I was talking to
Uh-huh.
him. Ron came on the show and I learned a lot because he was on the front line in the Vietnam War.
Right. Hmm.
And he explained, because I asked him about some of the racism and some of the things you had to do and how you get past, because you guys are out there. And he was telling me about this little young kid who came in, this white kid who was arrogant and evidently extremely. When I said he was extremely racist, and he was asking like, how can y'all be trying to take orders from this guy, mainly
Hmm.
because he was black.
Right.
And so, Ron said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so they came under attack. And Ron was, responsible and he was giving the orders to go here, and the young guy, he froze. He froze and he was trying to tell him what to do. And he had to grab him and pull him out of the way because otherwise he would have been killed.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
took that moment because he said after that, he was like, yes, sir. Because he realized Ron
Hmm.
saved his life and everything that he was
Right.
telling him was for the benefit of him so you don't get
Right.
killed.
Right.
But it took
Well,
that in order for him to get past all those issues he had, you know?
exactly. Exactly. And those were perceived conditions that he had that he thought was the normal way for him to proceed, not given the fact that this person in front of him, it was there to protect and guide him, and it ultimately saves his life. When he could have left him out there and let him get killed,
Right.
but
But
because of his commitment to what he was doing, you in the military's belief of leaving nothing behind, and also the fact that you're part of my team, I'm gonna take care of you, and that see it takes. I don't. I hate to say this, but it seems to take a life changing experience for us to get to the real part of what we're trying to do. And I really don't want to think that's what it has to be, but it always seems like it comes down to that. That we got to be a life changing experience before we can open our eyes and see the big picture. But racism is real. That's not. I'm not. If it's going
right.
away, it's real. It
There's a
still has. It has
there's
to be
a
dealt with.
there's another part of the show that we're going to touch on because racism is it's another part of the show. But I first want to get to the 3 minute sprint.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. For those that don't know, we do the 3 minute sprint every week with Vince here. And so for 3 minutes, Vince, have you ever built a snowman?
No,
No. Okay. What is the coldest weather you ever been in?
20 below zero.
20 below zero. For the last 3 weeks, this is the third week. I'm going to give you four Westerns, and you tell me
Okay.
out of the four, which one was your favorite? The
Okay.
Virginian, Rawhide, Wagon Train, Cheyenne.
Rawhide.
Rawhide. Get them up. Boot
Right.
them out. Rawhide.
Rawhide.
The millennials have no idea what we're talking about, right?
No, 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 not at all.
Did you ever play any 78s when you were a kid?
No.
No, really? Man, I used to play 78s when I was in kindergarten. They had the little rhyme things on them that they had in kindergarten. Okay. The last time you played a record. Wow.
Okay. A record.
Yeah, a record. A 45, a 33, James Brown.
Oh man, it's been 20 years, at least 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, if not more.
Okay, then I even got a better one for you.
Okay.
When was the last time, Vince, the last time you bought a stylus, a needle?
Oh. 40 years ago.
I went into the store, I think this was like in the early 2000s or late 90s, and asked
They don't know what
somebody
you're talking
for a
about.
needle, and she had to go get a manager because she didn't know what I was talking about.
They have no idea what you're talking about. Nobody knew what that guy.
I'm serious. The longest road trip you've ever taken.
Road trip. I rode the bus from Raleigh, North Carolina to DeLand, Florida, 25 hours.
Wow. Ooh. Okay. Can you cook?
Yes.
What is your favorite meal to cook?
Baked chicken, vegetarian baked beans, steamed brown rice, and steamed broccoli.
Okay. Now I'm gonna say, can you bake? Can you
Yes.
bake?
No. I can't make cakes and stuff like that. No. No.
Okay. Now, back in the day, which
Hmm.
did you prefer? A Big Mac or a Whopper?
Big Mac.
Big Mac. All
Big
right.
Mac.
I like the Whopper cut in half. Cut in half. I like the Whopper
I,
cut in
I,
half.
was, I was a Big Mac fan with that special sauce on it, man. Them
Two
two
all beef
pieces of meat.
patties.
Yeah, I couldn't get away from that.
Yeah. Okay. I got a story for you. I'm going to see if I can, because I put it on my phone. So let me see if I can read this. And I'm going to try to, and I don't know if you knew this, okay? Okay. Let me see if I can get it. You remember the 1968 Olympics with Tommy Smith and John Carlos,
Hmm.
right?
Right. Hmm.
1968. Okay, here we go. Back in 1968 Olympics, when it was Tommy Smith and John Carlos, which was the gold medal and the bronze medal in the 200 meters race in Mexico City. They put on the black gloves and raised their hands in protest. No one ever talked about the person who won the silver medal. Do you know the name of the person who won the silver medal?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. It was Australia, Peter Norman. He ran an amazing race, and to this day, his record still stands in for Australia. So if you ask the question, who was the Australian Peter Norman? He was the one who gave them the gloves that they put their hands in. He gave them the gloves.
I did not. Now that's something I did not know.
Okay. They asked him if he wanted to participate in the demonstration, and he said absolutely yes. Right? So they had a patch back then that they used to wear, and it's called the Olympic Projects for Human Rights. And it stood for equality for wherever you were in the world. There was an Olympic rower who gave the patch to Peter. He had the patch. They wore the gloves. Okay? So
Okay.
that was his way of protesting with them. He wore the patch. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that evening, you may not have known it, but back then in 1968, Australia had apartheid, like South Africa.
Okay.
And they thought him wearing that patch because they were all, I mean, because of the patch with apartheid, Australia thought he was collaborating with
Mm-hmm.
Smith and Carlos. So the consequences for the actions that Norman took for years in 1972, the Olympics, they banned him. They boycotted him, even though he ran the 200 and the 100 and qualified each time. So in the 1972, they boycotted him because he stood with them. Okay, he was in Australia. He was treated as an outsider, and his family, and he was outcast. It was very difficult for him to find work, and for a long time, he could only work as a gym teacher, and he continued to struggle. Occasionally, he found work at a butcher shop. Okay, now he got beat up so bad during that time from Australia. Now, let me see here. The country gave him one chance. He was invited to condemn them, but he said no, he would not condemn what they did. And they continued to ostracize him and basically condemned him. And let me see if I get to the other part of what I'm trying to say. His stable job, right? I talked about he couldn't get a job. Now, back in 2000, they invited him to say, you can come and walk with us if you would basically disband yourself from what you did, right? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So he was not allowed to march. Now, think about it. This is 1968. Here in the year 2000, they're still saying you shouldn't have done that, and apartheid wasn't part of Australia anymore. But they still would not let him. They still would not let him march in the Olympics in the year of 2000. Vince, he died in 2006. And guess who was there at his funeral? Here you go.
Should have been Carlos and them.
That's them carrying his casket.
Right. Now, I do remember reading something about that.
Okay. Can you imagine when you talk about racism, when you talk about being a person of color, here you are, this man won the silver medal for your country, trying to stand up for what is right, and he never backed down. Finally, let me see if I can find this. In 2012, they apologized to Peter Norman for the wrong done by Australia in failing to send him to the 1972 Olympics, despite repeatedly qualifying and belatedly recognizing the powerful role that Peter Norman played in further racial equality. When you think of racism, when you think of not only in this country, but around the world, and what it takes, or how we are looked at as people of color. And I just want to ask you, what did you think of that story?
That's a story. There are many stories of such nature of people who are making a commitment. Maybe not quite that drastic. Maybe not quite that. That's a heck of a story. That's a heck of
Yes.
a commitment for him to make to take it from himself. on a very broad, on a very big stage. But there are people who are doing similar actions on smaller stages who are committed to the not having indifference, but being one of the same, respecting people for who they are. There's so much to be learned from that story because of the great sacrifice that this guy made. I think a lot needs to be said about Carlos and and those guys inviting him to be a part, because they could have not even invited him, and he thought it was enough to, yes, I want to be involved, because he feels, as sometimes many of us feel, of the injustice. Charles, I'll tell you, I look at it, how the handicap is treated, how the elderly is treated, how special needs people are treated, and it doesn't matter what color they are; it's who they are. And why do you want to single them out and mistreat? So I feel similar to how he feels on a much smaller scale of getting involved in issues. Now I'm a huge advocate now for disabled kids, for the special need kid, because I'm having a chance to see them up close and personal, and really sometimes I'm very offended about what people say about them, how they be so, and how they treat them. So I can see this guy getting involved just because he feels in his heart this is wrong, and I'm going to be one who does something about it. I'm going to make a step forward to affect some change. He paid a huge price for that.
Right, he did.
Uh,
His family,
and the
his
price,
family.
yeah.
I mean, they
I
also, I
mean
mean,
that.
his family, and so, and then when now think about this. Now this happened in 6 days. Here it is, the year 2000, and they said,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? If you just, but he he still wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it. Well, it's a commitment. See, and that's, I mean, he's being committed to, and every successful endeavor, one of the key components is the commitment. Is being committed to it, no matter what. I read a lot of stuff from a lot of people who've had some success, and one of the things they talk about, and you can go all across the spectrum from business to politics to sports. It's all about commitment. It's all about deciding I'm going to do this. I was talking with a lady today, and just to digress just a small bit from this, who lost 150 pounds
Wow.
over a 2 year period. And I asked, my question was, what motivated you? She said one day she just decided she wanted to do it different. She wanted to make that, and she said, I can do this, and she got started, and she just stayed into it. She showed me a picture of where she was, and I'm looking at her today. You wouldn't even recognize her. And what I was impressed with her about her, she said, I just committed to it, and I stuck when nobody else supported me, no one else believed in what I was doing. I stuck by it. So commitment and to it, to an end result, is the key. Whether we're talking about racism, whether we're talking about sport, whether we're talking about relationship, whether we're talking about whatever we're talking about, it starts with two things, in my opinion: relationship and commitment. You gotta build relationships, and you gotta be committed to the outcome that you're looking for. That's a story I did not know, at least not that much detail about it. That's a heck of a price to pay for a cause that basically did not involve him
No.
to some degree. I mean, I think as once he got involved, he got the full uh, um, force of what these guys, what we know to be a normalcy. He got a chance to see that, and by that being another country, they were offended by that, and I want you to come back and say you made a mistake, and he refused to do that. That's what human rights is about. It's not about me. It's about us. It's about we as a people. And there's a heck of an example of that. And I would love to hear what Carlos and those guys really felt about that. I remember reading something. I didn't have the whole story, but
Right.
I read just.
I'm gonna see if I can get Tommy Smith to come on the show, because I had a chance to meet Tommy Smith. I took a picture with him. He gave me his card.
Yeah.
I have his card around here somewhere, but I'm gonna see if I can get Tommy to come on the show, because I have a million questions for him, man. Woo,
Well,
geez.
yeah, because I mean, first of all, for someone to take that step, when they were making a statement that I thought was a monumental statement all by itself, and to have someone to join in with you, and then to have that much of a sacrifice that he gave to support what they were doing at the ultimate cost that it really affected him. I would like to know what, because obviously somewhere in there they had some conversation with him. I would love to know what that dialogue, what the narrative was about. How do they feel about what he did and how it affected them, and then to be able to be there to lay him to rest. Just what emotions they may have had. What did you learn
Right.
from it? Did it make sense to you? Because that's huge. I mean, that's a story that I dare say very many people know.
Right.
Very many people know because so that's what sport does. I mean, no one wants to acknowledge that, but sports, that's what sports does. It broadens our horizons. It leaps over continents. It leaps over history. It leaps over obstacles. It leaps over the myths and all of that to reach down to the core of what we want to do. And that's why I believe so strongly in sport. And I believe every kid at some point in time needs to be involved, in particularly team sports.
Okay. All right. Well, I the show's a little different today, and I just thought it was for me. I just thought it was important that I'm able to pick your brain because
Mm.
I really, respect what you do. A lot of people don't know what you do. They, they know the name, they know the Coach Carter, but they don't know what you really do.
Right.
And the best way that I can say it, people, is that God gave him something that when he's dealing, Vince like the knuckleheads.
I love
He
them.
like the ones that people don't want to talk to or deal with. And Vince
Yeah.
say, give them to me. So if
Let me
you
have
got
them.
the thug, if you got the guy who, baby, I'm a thug.
That's
He
my guy.
likes those guys.
Those are my guys. Those are my guys. We right here. We right here. We right here.
Yeah,
We meet right in the middle.
right, right, right. Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, is there any last thing you want to say on the racial equality before we get into the NFL? Before we close out?
Well, I mean, I really don't think there's anything else to say. It's living out in front of us, and we still have an awful lot of examples that we can call on to say how important it is. But we have a lot of examples we can call on to say how disgraceful it is as well. That we still are able to conjure it up and stir it up, and people are still wanting to grab hold onto it. I think without God, we're fighting a losing battle, but with God, we have the opportunity to see change and make change. But I think for one, you have to build relationships, and number two, you got to be committed. And I
Okay.
think, and we want change. We all want change across the spectrum. We want change. Then we got to get involved. We got to stop talking about it. We got to get involved, and we got to build relationships. We got to do encouragement. We got to teach. We got to train. We got to mentor. We got to make a difference.
Definitely. No, I want to say, Carpanak, with his protests, and I
Hmm.
always thought it was interesting. My theory is when NFL owners, they get together, they care nothing about the cause, anything like that. They can't relate to. They don't even see a problem. So when they come together to talk, they're not talking about what he's protesting about. They're just talking about, okay, what we need to do to make sure we don't lose no money. That's what their meetings are
Well,
about. It's not about the cause,
well,
So because they so far from our world, they looking at like, what's the problem? There
but
isn't
you
a
do
problem.
you but you do, and maybe not the owners per se. And then again, I think there's a small percent of them who do get it.
Well,
They
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah. A
understand
small,
it. I mean,
small.
they don't feel it the same way, but they get it. They're like, I hear what you're saying. I don't know, and they can't really always relate, but they get it. For instance, Sacramento Kings, when a young man got killed out there by the police officer, the whole team, the whole management, everybody got behind the idea. Now, a lot of times they have to be motivated. They just don't automatically come up and say, well, I know injustice has been occurring. How can I change it? They're motivated by an action. The team felt very strongly about it. So for that reason, when they didn't have to be involved, they could have just stood back and said, well, hey, you guys go ahead and do what you want to do. We good as long as we got ticket sales. But they put their ticket sales on the line to go out and protest and do this. So they want to help some people, but they just don't know how. They don't. They're after the fact. What we're talking about is before the fact. For instance, you see what Kaepernick. They don't get. I understand he has. I understand what you're saying, but they don't really understand, and they're not going to act until something happens to affect them. Then they want to say, "How can I help you?" What we're saying is see the problem up front and get involved so that we can make change. But we're reacting. We're not being proactive. We're being reactive. That is, a lot of those managers and people. And to your point, a lot of them, they're not going to care until it affects them financially.
Right.
Then they want to say, well, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What can we do? How can I help you so it doesn't affect my ticket sales or it doesn't affect my
Right.
revenue?
It,
And it goes hand in hand, in my opinion.
right. Yeah. Oh, one of the things, real quick before we go to NFL, one of the things that I forgot to ask you, did you see that young lady that hit that teacher the other day? Did you see that online?
No, um, no, I did not. I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Look,
pretty sure it's
girl,
still on there.
girl, cold cocked the teacher, and told the teacher, "Don't be trying to get smart with me," and hit her.
See, but see,
Yeah.
I think, Charles, that's a whole different conversation that we're having. 'Cause a lot of that's a whole different world right there. Because a lot of times we sometimes don't want to recognize wrong for being wrong because of what wrong looks like. And I think if you're going to really deal with wrong, you got to deal with wrong across the board.
Right.
And we've got to have respect for people that we deal with as best we can. I mean, so there's no way you could justify to me unless that teacher has done something to that child that would cause her to do that. Now, that young lady's environment may have said to her, "This is how you handle that." And we all know in society, in its grandest form, that's not going to work.
Right.
You may win you may win a battle, but you will not win the war
Right.
because it's set up for you not to win the war based on that.
Yeah.
So
Well.
that
Yeah.
that's a tragedy because now you're going to cause somebody else to react to something based on a fear, based on and see it's I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's all about reaction. It's all about what we think it is, perception. It's never about let me get involved and let me see.
Right.
Let me ask some questions. I'm just gonna go on with what you said. Oh, I saw this girl do. I'm gonna take me a bat tomorrow. Well, if you build respect and build relationships with people, not saying it always. It's not absolute now. Don't get me wrong,
Right. I
but
got you.
it is a great place to start
Okay. All right.
when they'll let you. Sometimes them kids won't let you, and I understand that. That's when you need to send them to me.
Okay. Well, tomorrow night you got the Packers and the Seahawks.
Oh man, that's a good game. I tell you what, the Packers. I think they're stinging a little bit, so I'm gonna go with the Packers.
Okay. Titans and the Colts.
Man, the Titans have absolutely blown me away with what they've done. Their win over New England. I had a big time New England fan phone going dead. He can't seem to take any calls right now. But I'm gonna go with the Titans on that one. And
Okay.
I think Baltimore. I think the Colts are struggling.
The Buccaneers and the Giants.
I don't know that I really care, but I'm gonna go with the Giants. I think the Giants will
Um,
put it together.
yeah. Steelers and the Jaguars.
Man, I would have thought that would have been a good game. And I'm really not going to underestimate the Jaguars right now still, but I think the Steelers are on a roll right now. I'm going with the Steelers.
Okay. The Panthers and the Lions.
Whoa, I think the Panthers have the edge, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions pulled it off. But I'm gonna go with the Panthers.
The Cowboys. How about them boys?
How about them Cowboys?
The Falcons. The
I
Falcons.
don't care who we play. I don't care who we playing with. I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay. The man, the Bengals, man, they got beat up. They're playing the Ravens.
They might be in trouble, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
Okay. The Texans and your favorite Redskins.
I don't care. I got to be honest though, the Redskins have been playing some pretty decent ball here. So I hate to do this, but in the spirit of sport, I'm gonna go with the Redskins on this one.
Raiders in Arizona.
Arizona. I just don't think the Raiders are gonna be able to put it together this year. I think they just got too many holes, too many problems. I really think the team is built for next year and not this year. So they just passing through right now. So I'm gonna go with the Cardinals.
Broncos and the Chargers.
Chargers. Chargers are playing good ball, I think.
The Vikings and the Bears. That's an old rivalry right there, boy. Woo.
Yeah, that goes way back. That
Yeah.
conjures up a whole lot of old memories there. I've been a little surprised about what the Bears are doing, and I think the Vikings are struggling. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings on that one.
The Eagles and the Saints.
You said Fran is not home. You said
Nope.
Fran is not home. No, I'm going with the Saints.
Okay. Monday Night Football. This should be a good one. The Chiefs and the Rams.
I'm going with the Chiefs. That's going to be a big showdown. Two 8-1 teams. Yeah, isn't that the game was supposed to be played over in Mexico?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were having some turf issues, some stadium issues, so they moved it back to the States. Because that's a big game. There's two 8-1 teams playing together. I really like Kansas City. I really do.
Okay, well, they're playing it out west.
Yeah, man, I still like Kansas City. Though. I really think Kansas City, the Rams are fighters. They're gonna fight. They're not gonna lay down, and they're gonna fight through it. But I still think Kansas City, in my opinion, right now, has a chance to win that game.
New England must have a bye. They must have a bye this week.
I think they do have a bye. I think they have a bye.
Okay.
They got to get some things together up there because they're in trouble. They're getting ready to blow up.
Wow. Okay. All right.
What'd you think about it? What'd you think about the Jimmy Butler trade, putting him in Philadelphia?
Well, remember, I told you that trade was going to happen. Remember I told you that he was going to go to Philly. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember you saying that, but I really think. I really think I'm anxious to see how that's going to work out because I got questions about it. But I do also feel that if they can work it out, that might have been a good piece for them. And also, you see where Houston, and I told you this about Houston is getting ready to terminate their relationship with Carmelo Anthony.
Well, wait a minute now. Ever since we talk about Carmelo, my thing is I've asked the question, when has he ever gone to a team and he made the team better? And so I'm still, it's just like, I mean, the Knicks are better. Since he was gone. The Thunder will, but when
Houston
when he went to the Thunder, he wasn't a difference maker. He's not what's going on in Houston. So I'm not.
Let me take you back further.
Okay.
I told you from day one back from when he left Syracuse, he could not play any defense. And every place he's been, that's been one of his Achilles heels. He's gone to a high scoring team that those guys try to play defense. He don't even try to play defense. and they paid all that money for him, and I don't think his shooting percentage is that well either. So they're gonna terminate him and let him go. I think he's gonna have a hard time finding a job, in my opinion. But you never know. Somebody may be able. They may be.
Well, Vince, the only reason he would have a hard time finding a job is because of his ego. Because he don't want to be a role player. If he realized where he is in his career and humble himself,
No, that's
not.
That's not gonna happen.
But then again, you're right.
Because
he don't play no defense. So yeah, okay.
Don't nobody want to pay him. Now here's the thing that surprises me. Just as going, I'm looking at this Draymond Green and this Kevin Garnett.
Right.
What's his name? Durant, Kevin Durant.
Right.
Having this little communicative.
Right.
Net, yeah, it's already rumored that that KD is possibly going to leave next year, with one of the destinations being the Knicks, which I really don't understand why he would want to leave
But wait a minute,
and
wait a
go
minute.
to.
Well, actually, somebody made an interesting comment today, Vince, and it kind of made sense. They were saying that he's always looking for an identity, which is maybe not true, maybe, but that's Steph's team. Okay, so mind you, he joined a team that had beat him. He joined the team that had already won a championship. He joined the team that had won 73 games. So maybe that is true in the sense that he's still searching, trying to be the guy. And that's maybe part of it. I'm not real sure. But on that team, just like Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson understand, you know what? You got all these profile guys. I do what I do, and stuff don't come at me
It's paid well.
because I'm quiet and I can just play and not be the on. I mean, you
You
see
could
what
be
I'm saying?
right. You could be right. I just don't understand that though. But I mean, it may be his reasoning. But I would say
That's
this:
ego,
this this most recent incident does not help that situation.
right?
And no, but one of the things I did appreciate about Kevin Durant is that he refused to discuss it. He said, I'm not going to talk about it. It happened. We'll deal with it in house." He did kind of indicate that the two of them have not talked since then. But what I appreciate about it more than anything else, and I can understand differences happening and whatever be the cause, is that the fact that he didn't want to air his dirty laundry in public, and I greatly appreciate that. I think that's a great team concept. Like he said, it's a team thing. We'll discuss it in house. But I'd also think if there was ever a situation that he was considering, or should I, or would I, this kind of eggs that along a little bit. Because if you're not because I'm looking at, man, you MVP, you're making top dollar, you're winning championships. People talking about, well, you had it, John. I don't care what they say. You still winning, and you're proving every night that you are a heck of a ball player. Now, perhaps the ego thing, you're right. You need more of an, okay, well, whatever. If that's your thing, then you do that. But
Because
this kind of
it's
situation doesn't
Steph's
help
team.
that.
I mean,
You
it's
sure
Steph's
Steph
team,
team? Everybody know that.
huh?
Everybody know that. Boogie knows that. He's coming in. He asked, "May I come join your? May I come play on your team?" he know who Steph is. Because that's how Durant got there. So if that is his thing, okay, then well, fine, whatever. I mean, I hate this. To me, it doesn't make sense, but I'm not in his shoes, and I respect his decision. But to me, you're setting a legacy for yourself right now. But
Well, I mean, that's the
maybe that's
same
not
thing
enough.
with, with Shobi. I mean, with Kobe and Shaq. It'd be like, man, y'all just need to let go of y'all darn egos, man. It's just
Look,
like,
look at Des Bryant. Des Bryant got out there, made all of that noise, held out here, did this, said this, did this,
two
signed with
days
the
later,
Saints.
2 days later.
Then he's out. Now he threw. Now he threw for the year. Play, man. Play.
What
Stop
about
talking and
Bell?
play.
What you think about Bell?
I think Bell's a knucklehead, but I can't. I'm not in Bell's shoes. I'm looking at it on the outside. Because I want to be fair to Bell. He has every right to make whatever decision he wants to make. I'm trying to be a good guy, trying to be a team player. But I'm thinking, Bell, what are you thinking, man? The more you play, the higher your value. So if you get out there and you get it done, people will pay for that. But now you're gonna hold out and threaten not to play at all, and demand, your value goes down. Nobody wants to take that risk. You got too many young people, too many young players coming along. They'll pay for half what they want to pay you. So I think it's a bad decision when you don't go ahead and do your job. But he gets better advice than me. So whatever he thinks is best, I'll go along with it. But I think it's a bad decision. And I think that
Well,
Pittsburgh is coming now where they're
somebody
saying,
else made
we don't
another
even
good
want.
point too. Somebody else made that point that you just made about that you. I mean, you have more value when you're working versus when you're
Yeah,
not working.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
what better team to play for than the Pittsburgh Steelers? Ownership, good. I mean,
I
a
don't
good
know.
team. Good
I mean,
players.
is anybody, if he's looking for a perfect situation, then maybe he'll find that. But I think Pittsburgh has been, over the years, has been about as good as it can get. I mean,
Right.
they've been a pretty darn good organization. And you go to work. Boogie recognizes that. Same thing with Kawhi. People, the biggest thing people question about both of them, I haven't seen you guys play, but you want me to write you a blank check. I'm not going to do that. But now Kawhi has gone out and made a situation for himself where people started getting their checkbooks out. And Toronto is saying, "Oh no, I'm gonna keep him right here." What I mean? And what the Golden State has said is, Boogie come out and do the rest of this season. The time he gets on the floor, what they think he's going to do, heck, they'll re-sign him next year. So Boogie's in a position if he comes back. That's why they say, take your time, Boogie. You don't have to come back right now, because when you do come back, the biggest thing is going to happen for Boogie is people are going to see him work. His value is going to go up. His value is going to shoot sky high because they want to see, can you play? That's why nobody bothered him. Look at Anthony Davis down there in New Orleans. They're thinking about his value's got to be sky high because this boy's on fire down there. So people willing to pay top dollar. So the premise, I believe, is correct. You're worth more when you're playing, when you're working.
Right. 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 Yeah. Well, we will see. I got a,
Yeah.
I got another topic for you next week that I want to pick your brain about too.
Okay.
Cause something that I should have
All
brought
right.
up about 2 weeks ago, and so, but I'll bring it up next week. So we'll
Look
see.
forward to it.
All right.
We'll look
Well,
forward to it. Hey,
again, the original Coach Carter,
have,
the original Coach Carter, Charles Morris. We come to your way every Wednesday at 11 p.m. Also, remember to join us for the Journey 2020 every Monday at 7 p.m. at www.thejourney2020.com. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Periscope, the same as we are here with Youth Central Sports, because you can like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitter. You can check us out on Periscope. So we're all over the place. And
amen.
questions and comments and things like that, you can
We love
always
to
hit
hear
us
from
up.
you.
Let me see if I can find here it is right here. Here it is. That's the email address. So you can hit us up there, as well. And I guess, during the show, I guess I should have put up the text. And actually, you know what? We could have been taking some comments off of Facebook, because we're rolling up on Facebook right now. And
Well, that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
so
Want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving too. In case we miss you next week, enjoy that. Eat a lot. Go ahead and don't even challenge yourself. Just go ahead and eat and enjoy it, and get to the gym the next day. So
wow, wow. I saw where one of my old friends from back in the day was watching on Facebook, and that's Myron Coney. So Coney and I go way, 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 way back, man, to when I was about seven, 8 years
oh my
old.
gosh.
So say hi to Myron Coney. You know, well, Vince, it's about 74 degrees. Says I just want to throw that out there before we end the show.
Well, and just so that you can do the math, it's 29 here.
It'd be like, maybe you should go do some ice fishing.
Hey, all I gotta do is go out there. The fish already froze. I don't have to fish for it. They already laying right there. And the deer in the back, they stuck. So we good to go. We got deer meat and fish.
All right. Well, again, I'm Charles Morris. This is the original Coach Carter. We're happy to come your way at Youth Central Sports. And thank you, Vince, for enlightening us, helping us, educating us,
Yeah.
equality, racial equality in sports, and the challenges
Mm,
that we face, sometimes it's very difficult.
absolutely.
But as we like to talk about how sports can be so positive in so many ways, because, like you say, midnight basketball is more than a game.
That's it. Just a game.
It's more than just a game.
Absolutely.
It's a lot
Absolutely.
more than that. So that's what we like to bring forth here on Youth Central Sports. Well, thank you once again, and tune in next week. We'll be right back here at www.youthcentralsports. and on Facebook and Periscope. So everybody, you be blessed.
Amen. Good night.